Junkies Show with Rudnick.
Hey, Screen Junkies. You know, there's a few things I love unconditionally. Peanut butter, commercials where babies talk, and the X-Men. Just kidding. Commercials where babies talk make me die inside. The new X-Men movie, Days of Future Past, has slowly been releasing more and more info, like the fact that they just cast Peter Dinklage. Awesome. But the question on every fan's mind is this movie gonna be any good? Or are we gonna have another X-Men 3 scenario? Talking Ratner, y'all. We brought an esteemed panel of experts in to discuss. This panel's like way more esteemed than I thought we could even get. Good job. So guys, today we're asking the question, will the next X-Men suck? And we have an esteemed panel of experts helping us figure out whether it's gonna be good or not. First, we have comic book writer. He wrote the graphic novels Torso, Manhunter, and Captain America, Mark Andreyko. And from The Nerdist and from G4, the lovely and geeky Allison Hayslip.
This is my esteemed face.
And you've probably seen this guy all over your TV. He's in a million commercials. Mike Carlson.
Thank you.
So in order for the audience to be able to relate to where you're coming from, I'd like to hear your favorite of the 5 existing X-Men films. Allison, this does not include the Saturday morning cartoon show.
Shoot, I love the Saturday morning cartoons. Okay,
Please
that's
exclude
fine.
that. So let's just go down the line. Mark?
I would say X-Men 1 is probably my favorite because Bryan Singer's responsible for bringing respect to superhero movies.
We are the future, Charles, not them. They no longer matter.
Allison.
I will go with X-Men 1 as my favorite out of all of them.
Mike?
My favorite is X-Men 2. When Wolverine plunged his claws into a man's chest, I got a little emotional. I didn't cry, but I was like, this is what I always wanted to see.
X-Men Days of Future Past, directed by Bryan Singer, is on the horizon. Mark, can you give us a quick synopsis of what the plot of Days of Future Past will be?
Not the movie, but the comic book that they're using as inspiration. Mutants are being killed and interred, and giant sentinels are doing things like melting Wolverine to nothing but his metal skeleton.
Like, I think we're gonna get, like, 2 things from the actual story. Time travel and sentinels. And that might be it.
Big question. Is Bryan Singer gonna mess this up?
No. 1, he started the franchise, so he has a deep, abiding concern for it. 2, they've seen some of the movies go off the rails.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
So I think that they've learned from Last Stand and Wolverine Origins. So I'm really excited. I think he's a great filmmaker.
The stakes are too high over at Fox because they don't want to look like assholes in front of Marvel across the street. Like, they got a lot to prove, is my point.
I think it's going to work because Hollywood at this point knows that they have to make superhero movies good. Because those of us who love the product will hate on it and not go see it if it is bad.
Are we okay that he's mixing the 2 casts of the first 3 X-Men and X-Men First Class, kind of creating this bridge?
I would hope that they would be mixed. I would want them to be mixed. My only concern is, are they going to be mixed correctly?
I'm less concerned because at the end of the day, if Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen are talking to McAvoy and Fassbender, I'm going to be happy. There's just something about that that will make me go, yes, this is awesome.
I still think there's some pitfalls. I mean, Bryan Singer isn't Teflon. Superman Returns?
That's an easy scapegoat for that movie. That movie took on so much crap that it didn't deserve. And yeah, it's a flawed movie, but I'd rather see an interesting Bryan Singer failure than a Brett Ratner success.
People are a little nervous about the CG because the CG in Jack the Giant Slayer doesn't look great.
And you can overlook, like, okay CG if the movie's good.
I gotta say, Wolverine's claws in the Wolverine origin story, they look terrible. That didn't take you out of the movie at all?
Well,
If
everything
that
took me out
was
of that
what took you
movie.
out of the movie, just the claws, then you have better endurance than anybody on this panel.
Now that we're talking about the Wolverine origin story, I know you had an issue with Gambit in that movie.
When I grew up watching the cartoons, like, Gambit was it for me. And the fact that he's felt like this kind of, like, side character that they haven't ever really quite dealt with is really upsetting as an X-Men fan. Like, I could care less about Cyclops. Bring me Gambit.
Blasphemy.
What? No.
Big news recently, Dinklage is on board. So who is he gonna play?
Allegedly, he's going to play Bolivar Trask, who invented the Sentinels.
So I do think it's interesting that in the comic, Bolivar Trask is not a little person.
I don't think anyone's going to care because when I would talk to my friends when I was little about our favorite X-Men, it was never Boulevard Trask. That was never anyone's favorite, so I don't think anyone's going to be like, it doesn't look like him.
So let's pull back and talk broader universe. There are rumors that the Fantastic Four reboot is going to take place in the same universe.
Well, it makes perfect sense to do that. Both the X-Men and the Fantastic Four are kind of science-based, so they're complementary, and they've been existing in the Marvel universe and publishing for 50 years, so why not?
Do we like that they're keeping them out of the Avengers universe? Do we like them separate?
No.
Yeah.
I hate it. I want them all in one universe. I want to see them all. I want Spider-Man to show up at the end of Avengers, but it's not going to happen.
I want Star Wars in there too.
Oh,
Great.
give it time.
I want to hear your guys' ultimate nightmare scenario. What would make this film just DOA?
Joel Schumacher.
If I walk out of that movie and it doesn't make sense, I will be pissed.
If it's like real grounded and realistic, I hate that.
Well, it can make sense and not have to be grounded in reality, because technically, if Spider-Man, the real version of that, you get bitten by a radioactive spider, 6 months later you have bone cancer. So you don't want it too grounded in reality, because then it all falls apart.
So Bryan Singer has said he's going to use this next film as an opportunity to, quote, correct some things. What's the one thing that you would correct? Mark?
The mismanagement of the Dark Phoenix saga and the death of Cyclops. I think that was just a huge waste of some of the best, most iconic comic storytelling ever.
Mine would be Deadpool not having katanas shoot out of his hands that are longer than his forearms. Because how does he bend his elbows? Come on!
So you'll suspend your disbelief and get on board that mutants exist, but you won't suspend your disbelief when it comes to the size of a katana.
Because his blades are adamantium and they don't bend.
Point taken. Guys, you make some great points. You obviously all know your stuff. But there's only one way to find out if the movie's going to be any good. We'll have to wait and see it. I want to thank my awesome guests, Mark Andreyko, Allison Hayslip, Mike Carlson. Thanks for being here. Who would your ultimate superhero team-up be? Who would you like to see join forces and mess crap up? Leave us a comment below. Best answer will get a Screen Junkies t-shirt. That's it, you guys. I'm Hal Rudnick. Bye-bye.